I was living in New York City and faked having cancer so I could move back home. I didn't have enough money to stay in New York City, and I didn't have enough money to leave New York City. I had just ended a 5-year relationship. He was cheating. I was grateful to end it and had just enough money to get my own apartment. Also, I kept having fibroids in my breasts. They were so painful. I was able to get a prophylactic mastectomy covered by my company's insurance plan, so I took it. My neighbor assumed I had breast cancer after my surgery, and I never stopped her from thinking that. She never officially asked, but she took me under her wing, an older woman. I was between boyfriends and not close to my family. Well, that's when the lie started. I didn't stop her. I needed her. I felt so lost and alone. Then, I remember the first time the lie crossed my lips. I told a friend I had cancer, and she suggested I get treatment back at home in Texas. I thought, could this be my justifiable reason for going back home? I was always afraid of what people thought of me if I returned home. She couldn't make it in New York, she failed. Elle used the lie to move home, moved back to Texas. Got an apartment for 1/5 the price I was paying in NYC. I cut off my long brown hair, cut it really short. Pixie cut. People would ask about me losing hair, and I said no, that it doesn't happen to everyone. Of course it does, but somehow everyone in my life believed me. I'd fake doctor appointments so those closer to me thought I was getting treatment. That was almost 10 years ago. I still live in Texas and I am married with children. Having had cancer lives in my past. It rarely comes up today. Every opportunity I've had to donate, walk for breast cancer I have. The guilt is very much present. No one in my life knows about this, not even my husband. He knows every single thing about me, except for this. It is kind of wild typing this out, because I've never breathed these words out loud to anyone. I didn't realize that a little pressure would lift up off my shoulders. Don't get me wrong, still tons of pressure. But I am feeling a little shift by sharing. P.S. I've had 6 miscarriages, and my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, survived. Deep down in my heart, I feel as though both of those are because of this lie. I run a fake restaurant on a delivery app. I registered a company, bought all the takeaway boxes from Amazon, signed up for a few delivery apps, made a few social media accounts, and printed leaflets that I drop in mailboxes. I resell microwave meals. On some meals, I add something to make them look better, like cheese. So far, it's at around $200 a day in revenue. Nobody suspects a thing. Soon, someone will come for hygiene inspection, but I'll pass that check without any problems. It's not illegal to operate out of your own kitchen. Should I feel bad? I feel kind of proud to be fair and free as a bird from the 9-to-5 life. Not breaking any laws, just ruining my karma in real life for selling people heated-up food from a microwave at home. I slapped a child in the face and then shoved him off his scooter. I'm 25, so I have a beloved kitty named Pixie. She was around 4 when I found her on the street. She had a rubber band tightened on half her tail. I spent 2 weeks feeding her until she was comfortable enough to let me near her. She didn't trust anyone. I took her in, cleaned her up, and got the dead portion of her tail amputated. After 5 years, she finally warmed up to people and she became so sweet and friendly. It took her years to be comfortable around strangers. Last month, she was out for her daily stroll around the neighborhood and immediately came back in through the kitty door 20 minutes later. Usually, she is out and about for 2-3 hours. She had 2 small holes in her chest and 1 near her butt. She was completely frightened and was crying, meowing. She wouldn't even let me go near her for the first 5 minutes. I knew for certain that she was shot with metal BBs. I take her in my car and start driving to the vet, but took a quick detour around the neighborhood, was going to take the long way to see if I could find the culprit. Sure enough, I see a kid on a scooter standing on his driveway, with a CO2-powered BB gun, aiming in the drainage cavity by the sidewalk. I see cats in there all the time. It was then knew who the culprit was. One parked the car, got out, walked over to him and said, "I'm telling your parents that you are shooting cats." He replied, They are pests. They told me I could. The smug little look on his face threw me over the edge. I slapped the fuck out of this kid and swept his legs out from under him and watched him fall flat on his butt. I then picked up his gun and smashed it on the ground. A small part of me wanted to finish him off with a stomach kick for good measure, but I'm 25, so I looked both ways before crossing the street and fucking bolted. As I hopped in my car and sped away, I heard him shrieking in the distance. My kitty was treated and is doing okay. She is a lot more skittish and spends less time outside. I installed a camera in the living room and caught my husband making out with the babysitter. I have been having suspicions for almost 4 months since I hired this 17-year-old babysitter for my 3-year-old daughter. I'm a nurse working full-time while he works 3 nights a week and comes home to sleep during the day. I felt I was going crazy because something was off, and he refused to ease my mind and answer questions I had, so I put a camera in the living room and saw nothing till day 4, when he and the babysitter were making out on the couch behind my daughter's back while she was watching TV. I felt like my entire world came crashing to the ground. I felt all kinds of negative feelings, including guilt, even though I just wanted to keep my job when he complained about me pushing him to the side. He started crying when confronted, tried to get me to listen, but I took my daughter and went to stay with Mom. It's been a whole month now. The babysitter is gone, and he's still crying about his slip-up, even went as far as to say the babysitter was the one initiating. I feel like I'm done with him after this. He managed to make me feel guilty for not dressing up or giving him enough attention. Now I do strongly believe I bear part of the blame in what happened. I feel disgusted, and my mind and heart keep racing, not knowing how to deal with all of this. He's begging for a second chance, and his family is defending him against me.
I broke my leg on purpose to avoid going to school. When I was 9, I really hated school. I would do anything in my power to get a day off. Fake sick days, faking a high temperature, fake vomit, and so on. I got away with this for so many years, but people were catching on and getting suspicious. We had a trampoline buried in the ground in our yard, and while I was on it one evening, I had a thought. If I broke a bone, then I can't go to school for weeks. I was jumping really high, thinking how to do it, and I rotated my leg so I would land on my ankle and it would hit the metal frame and springs. I didn't think it was possible to feel that level of pain. Not just my leg, but all through my body. I landed on the side of my ankle and my whole leg literally cracked. I don't know how I didn't do more damage than I did, to be honest. Spent the whole night in hospital, and to my delight I was put in a full leg cast, thigh to ankle, and sent home the next evening. Funnily enough, it didn't even give me much time from school. I had 1 week of glorious breakfast in bed, video games, and terrible daytime TV. And then I had to use crutches for weeks on end at school with people constantly trying to draw on my cast.